Let's solve this IELTS academic reading passage from Cambridge IELTS Book 20. The title of the passage is Georgia O'Keeffe. The first sentence tells us that she was an American artist. First, we have gap fill questions. Here's question 1. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. The question is saying that O'Keeffe studied art and after that she worked in different places in the USA. Worked as means we are looking for her profession. First, we need to figure out where the answers are. On your screen, you can see all the questions on the right with some words in bold. These are the location keywords. And on the left, we have the first 3 paragraphs of the passage. From this, we can see that we should expect the answers to begin from paragraph 2. Paragraph 2 first mentions where she was born, then her studies, and then something about an art teacher. The question says she studied art. Paragraph 2 says she studied the techniques of traditional painting. So these two mean the same thing. After that, it says she became an art teacher. Then 3 places in the USA are mentioned. There are 2 possible confusions here. First, when these 3 places are mentioned, the word USA is not repeated. So we have to understand from context that these places are in the USA. Second, we are told to write only one word. So the answer cannot be art teacher because the instruction says one word only, and also the question uses a before the blank, not an. So the answer to question 1 is teacher. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 1. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 2. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. Exhibited means shown to the public, usually in a gallery or exhibition. So the question is saying that some drawings were shown in a gallery in New York City, and these drawings were made using something. This means we are looking for the material or medium used to create drawings. For example, pencil, crayons, or watercolors. This is where we found the answer to the previous question. In the next paragraph, exhibited and New York City are mentioned. So this tells us that the answer to question 2 should be in paragraph 3. This is a slightly difficult question because the information is not in one place. It is spread across the paragraph. Towards the end of paragraph 3, it says that the drawings were exhibited in New York City. But the details about these drawings are given at the beginning of the paragraph. At the beginning, it says she was creating abstract compositions in charcoal. Here, composition simply means pieces of artwork or drawings. So, abstract compositions are a type of drawings. She made them using charcoal. Then, later in the paragraph, it tells us that these same drawings were exhibited in New York City. The answer to question 2 is charcoal. This is slightly difficult because we have to connect information from different parts of the same paragraph instead of finding everything in one sentence. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 3. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here's question 3. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. The question is saying that O'Keeffe moved to New York, then became famous for her paintings. These paintings were of the city something. The city here is New York. So she painted something related to New York and became famous for it. It could be buildings, nature, streets, or anything connected to the city. We found the answer to the previous question in paragraph 3. At the beginning of paragraph 4, we see that she arrived in New York. So this is where we start looking. In paragraph 4, we do see some information that may look relevant. There is mention of exhibitions and also portraits, which could be a type of paintings. But here it clearly says these are portraits of O'Keeffe taken by Stieglitz. So these are photographs clicked by Stieglitz, not paintings done by O'Keeffe. This is not the answer. Exhibitions and promotion of her work are mentioned. This might suggest that she is becoming famous, but it is not directly mentioned anywhere in paragraph 4 that she became famous. So, paragraph 4 gives us some related information, but not the exact answer. So, we move to paragraph 5. In paragraph 5, it says she was recognized as one of America's most important and successful artists and widely known. This clearly tells us that she became famous. Now we look for what she became famous for. It says she was widely known for architectural pictures that depict the soaring skyscrapers of New York. Architectural means related to buildings, depict means show. Skyscrapers are very tall buildings. So she became famous for paintings of New York's skyscrapers. So here we have two possible answers from the passage: soaring skyscrapers and skyscrapers. If the instruction allowed two words, both of these would be correct. But the instruction clearly says one word only. So the answer to question 3 is skyscrapers. This question is slightly tricky because paragraph 4 contains misleading information like portraits and exhibitions, but the actual answer is clearly stated in paragraph 5. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 4, and here are the meanings from paragraph 5. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 4. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. Innovative means something with new ideas. Close up means very near and very detailed. The question is saying that O'Keeffe made a series of or many paintings. These paintings were innovative, meaning creative and new, and they were close up of something. So the question is, what did she make close up paintings of? We found the answer to the previous question in paragraph 5, so we continue in the same paragraph. In paragraph 5, it says she painted botanical subjects. Botanical subjects means plants. It also says that she made magnified images depicting flowers. Magnified means made larger, which is the same as close up. Depicting means showing. So she made close up paintings of flowers. The question says a series of paintings, but this exact phrase is not directly given in the passage. Instead, we see clues like most often and annual trips, which suggest that she made many paintings or a series of paintings. So, even though the word series or its synonyms are not mentioned, the meaning is clearly there. The answer to question 4 is flowers. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 5. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 5. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. Initially means at first. Inspired means getting ideas from something. The question is saying that O'Keeffe went to New Mexico, and at first, when she was there, she got ideas to paint something. We also know two things about this something. There were many of them, and they were found in New Mexico. So the question becomes, what did she first get inspired to paint in New Mexico? We found the previous answer in paragraph 5. New Mexico is first mentioned in paragraph 7. So we skip paragraph 6. Now let's look at paragraph 7. On your screen, I have highlighted some key parts in bold. These are the parts we focus on while skimming. One important thing about skimming: don't just run your eyes over the text. That usually doesn't give you clear meaning. What works better is to read the first few words of each sentence, understand the idea, and then skip the rest. This way, you get a quick understanding of what each sentence is about. So, when we skim paragraph 7 using this method, we see that she traveled to New Mexico. It had a strong impact on her life. She kept visiting for many years. She stayed there for long periods, and later she moved there permanently. Now, one possible confusion here is the phrase immediate effect on her work. This might make you think the answer of what initially inspired her is here. But notice carefully, it does not say what she painted, only that her work was affected. So, paragraph 7 gives context but not the answer. We move to paragraph 8. New Mexico is not mentioned in paragraph 8, but it starts with the word there, which refers to New Mexico. It says she found inspiration. At first, it was the numerous sun bleached bones. At first is initially, numerous is many, bones are the things she saw there and which inspired her. Sun bleached is just describing the bones. Sun bleached means the bones became light or white because they were in strong sunlight. State refers to New Mexico, and rugged terrain is just describing the kind of land there. So these are all descriptive details, not the main answer. Sparked her imagination also means that she was inspired, and it's something that gave her ideas. So she was inspired by the bones. There are two possible answers: bones and sun bleached bones. But because we are only allowed one word answers, the answer to question 5 is bones. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 8. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 6. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. Question 5 was about O'Keeffe painting something initially or at first. Question 6 says that for more than 40 years after that, in New Mexico, she continued to paint something. What was she painting? Features means different parts of something. For example, when we say features of a phone, we mean what kind of screen it has, how fast it is, what kind of camera it has. Similarly, if we say features of a building, we talk about how big it is, what kind of rooms it has, and what kind of facilities it has. Here, O'Keeffe painted many different features, and all these features together formed something. And this something was very dramatic or very impressive or noticeable. So, what is this something that she painted and which had many different features? This is where we found the answer to the previous question. The first thing we notice is that just as in question 5, in question 6, New Mexico is mentioned, but it is not mentioned in paragraphs 8 or 9. The region mentioned in paragraph 9 tells us that we are talking about something that was mentioned before. So the region is New Mexico. In paragraph 9, it says that the region that is New Mexico has a spectacular landscape or a very impressive landscape. Landscape is the natural scenery of a place. It includes features such as mountains, sky, trees, and water bodies. This landscape mentioned in paragraph 9 had unusual geological formations, vivid colors, clarity of light, and exotic vegetations. These four are the different features. Together, they make a spectacular landscape or a dramatic landscape. A decade means 10 years, so 4 decades means 40 years. So, over 40 years or for more than 40 years, she painted the spectacular or dramatic landscape of New Mexico. One confusion could come from paragraph 8. Here we see features of a cow's skull, like weathered surfaces and irregular openings. These are examples related to bones, which we have already seen in the previous question. But more importantly, there is no mention of over 40 years in paragraph 8, which is clearly mentioned in paragraph 9. So the answer cannot be from paragraph 8. The answer to question 6 is landscape. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 9. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here's question 7. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. Traveled widely means traveled a lot to different places. In later years means when someone is older or in the later part of their life. So the question is saying that in the later part of her life, O'Keeffe traveled a lot by air to many different places, and she painted pictures of two things seen from above. The first thing is clouds. What is the second thing she painted pictures of? In the passage, we found the answer to the previous question, question 6 from paragraph 9. There is a mention of traveling widely and planes in paragraph 11, so we skip the rest of paragraph 9 and the whole of paragraph 10. In paragraph 11, many places that she visited are mentioned. Then it says, flying in planes inspired her or gave her ideas for two major series, meaning two themes on which she made paintings. Aerial views means something seen from the air. Viewed from just above clouds also means what you see from above. The two things that she made paintings of are rivers and sky. The answer to question 7 is rivers. The confusing thing could be that in the passage it says she made paintings of rivers and sky. In the question it says clouds and something. Clouds and sky are closely related ideas here, not exact synonyms, but used in the same context of what she saw from above. So the second thing she made paintings of is rivers. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 11. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here are all the gap fill answers with their locations in the passage. And this is the step-by-step process. This is the method that we follow when solving these questions. Note that the answers are in order. even though we skip a few paragraphs in between. Usually, we see that gap fill answers are close to each other, like within 2 or 3 paragraphs, we find most of the answers. That is not the case here, but the answers are still in order. There are also some very clear location keywords like New Mexico and traveled widely, which help us locate the answers in the passage. There is a clear instruction in the questions that we can only write one word answers. Otherwise, some questions could have had two correct answers. One example is question 3, where the answer could be soaring skyscrapers or skyscrapers. A very interesting thing that we see here is that two questions mention New Mexico, but both the paragraphs from which we get the answers to these questions do not mention New Mexico directly. Instead, they refer to it using words like there and the region. When looking for the answers, we first read and understand the question. Then we identify the location keywords such as capitalized words, numbers, and unique words. After that, we scan the passage to find the tentative location of the answer. Then we read that part carefully and find the exact word or words that fit into the blank. Sometimes the questions have slightly longer sentences, which can make them confusing to understand. This is something we see in questions 5 and 6. So, what we do in that case is break the question down into simple points to clearly understand what we are looking for. That is exactly what we did while solving these questions in this video. Next, we have true, false, not given. Here's question 8. Pause here and try to find the answer. Let's check. The question is Georgia O'Keeffe's style was greatly influenced by the changing fashions in art over the 7 decades of her career. 7 decades means 70 years. So her career as an artist was more than 70 years. In these years, there were changing fashions in art. Changing fashions means the styles of art kept changing. What was popular or trendy kept changing. And the question is saying that these changes in fashion, style, and trends in art influenced her style, meaning she followed or was affected by these trends. In paragraph 1, the very first phrase in the passage is for 7 decades. So we can see that the answer is here. The first sentence says she was a major figure in American art. So we know she was an important artist. The second sentence has the key idea. It says she remained independent from shifting art trends. Shifting art trends means changing fashions in art. If we compare this with the points in the question, two parts match. Her career was more than 70 years, and there were changing fashions or shifting trends in art. However, the key difference is the effect. The question says greatly influenced by, but the passage says remained independent of. This means she was not influenced by the changing trends. This part of the statement in the question is the opposite of what the passage says. Therefore, the answer to question 8 is false. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 1. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here's question 9. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. The question says, made her mind up, means decided. So the question is saying that when she finished high school, she had already decided what career she wanted. In the passage in paragraph 2, we first see the information about when she was born, and then there is mention of high school. The answer is in one sentence. Graduated from high school means finished high school. Determined means made up her mind or decided. Make her way as an artist means she wanted to be an artist or she knew what career she wanted. All the points in the question are mentioned in the passage, so the answer to question 9 is true. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 2. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 10. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. Abstract drawings, they're different from realistic drawings because they do not show real people or objects clearly. The question is saying that Alfred Stieglitz first discovered or found out about O'Keeffe's work when she sent some drawings to his gallery in New York City. Stieglitz is mentioned for the first time in paragraph 3, so we look there. We also see the word abstract. Here it is mentioned that O'Keeffe made some abstract drawings. She sent some of these drawings to a friend in New York, and then this friend showed them to Alfred Stieglitz. So, she did not directly send the drawings to Stieglitz. He discovered her work or her paintings because a friend sent them to him. If we compare this with the points in the question, yes, the drawings were abstract. She did send some drawings, but she did not send them to his gallery in New York City. Because of this difference, the statement in question 10 is incorrect. The answer to question 10 is false. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 3. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here's question 11. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. The subject of a photograph or a painting means the person who is shown in that photo or painting. The question is saying that O'Keeffe was the subject of Stieglitz's photographic work for many years. This means that for many years, Stieglitz took photographs of O'Keeffe. In the passage, we found the answer to the previous question in paragraph 3. After that, there is a mention of exhibitions where O'Keeffe's drawings were shown. There is also a mention of photographers, but that refers to other artists and photographers in general. There is nothing about Stieglitz taking photographs of O'Keeffe there. Then in paragraph 4, it says that the two were married later. This means O'Keeffe and Stieglitz were married. Then it says their relationship was recorded in Stieglitz's portraits of O'Keeffe. For 20 years or for many years, Stieglitz clicked portraits of O'Keeffe means O'Keeffe was the subject of his photographic work. If we connect this to the point in the question, this matches exactly. So the answer to question 11 is true. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 4. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here's question 12. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. Patio means an outdoor area of a house that is paved or tiled. The question is about O'Keeffe's house in Abiquiu. It says that she made paintings of the patio in that house. It also says that these paintings were among her favorite works. Abiquiu is mentioned in paragraph 10. In this paragraph, first there is a mention of two places: a summer retreat and a winter residence. Then it says both places provided a wealth of imagery for her paintings. This means she got many ideas for paintings from both places. But one feature of the Abiquiu house, the patio, was particularly inspirational. Inspiration again means something that gives a lot of ideas. So she got many ideas from the patio and made paintings on it. Then it says she made more than 30 pictures and reinvented it, which means she showed it in new and creative ways. If we compare this to the points in the question, she made paintings of the patio in the house, so point 1 is correct. But there is no mention of whether these paintings were her favorite or not. We don't know if these were some of her favorite paintings. Inspirational just means she got a lot of ideas, and just because she made many pictures doesn't mean they were favorites. So the answer to question 12 is not given. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 10. Pause here if you want to understand it in detail. Here's question 13. Pause and try to find the answer. Let's check. The question is a comparison between how much work O'Keeffe did between 1950s and 1970s and at other times of her life. The quantity of work here means the number of paintings she made. The 1950s means 1950 to 1959, and 1970s means 1970 to 1979. The question is asking whether during this period she produced more work than at any other time in her life. So we need to look at how much work she did in this time, then how much work she did during the other periods. If the number of paintings in this period is more, the answer is true. Paragraph 11 starts with 1950s to 1970s. And paragraph 12 talks about the last 2 decades. So we look at both. Paragraph 11 tells us that she traveled widely and also describes the kind of paintings she made. There is a mention that she increased the size of her canvases, but this only tells us that the paintings became larger, not that she made more paintings. There is no clear information about the number of paintings and there is no comparison. In paragraph 12, it says the last 2 decades of her life were relatively unproductive because of ill health and blindness. This means she produced less work during that time. However, this period does not exactly match the 1950s to 1970s. She died in 1986, so this period would be from 1966 to 1986. That is not what the question is mentioning. It also mentions that she made around 900 paintings in total, but it does not tell us how many paintings were made in each period. So there is no clear comparison. We do not know whether she produced more work in the 1950s to 1970s than at any other time. So the answer to question 13 is not given. Here are the meanings of each sentence from paragraph 11, and here are the meanings from paragraph 12. Pause here if you want to understand them in detail. Here are all the true false not given answers and their locations in the passage. Notice that all the answers are in order. There is a gap after paragraph 4, and then we find the next answer in paragraph 10. But it is still not difficult to locate the answer. This is because question 12 has the capitalized word ubique and it is mentioned only in one paragraph. So we know that the answer must come from paragraph 10. This is the step-by-step method we followed while looking for these answers. First, we read and understand the question. Then we identify location keywords such as capitalized words, numbers, and other important words. After that, we read the relevant part of the passage carefully. We also keep this rule in mind. If every part of the statement is true, the answer is true. If even one part is false, the answer is false. And if even one part is not given, the answer is not given. So, especially when the questions are longer and include 2 or 3 ideas, it helps to break them into parts and understand exactly what we are looking for. Before we finish, here's a quick revision. Pause wherever you want to read and understand. This is paragraph 1. This is paragraph 2, paragraph 3, 4, 5. Here are the meanings of paragraph 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we have meanings of each sentence from paragraph 10, paragraph 11, and finally paragraph 12. I hope you found this video helpful. We'll continue solving this reading test in future videos. Bye for now. All the very best.